tonight we're gonna do another install in the Crawford build series for Axel's car. So what we're doing tonight is installing these mirror light pod kits that were provided by Crawford. And so after we do this install, kindly done by Greg, on Axel's car, and we're gonna do a night run and we'll test out these lights.
All right guys, so taking a closer look at the lights themselves, we've noticed that we got the regular LED lights in the front, and then this one specifically has LED lights on the side. So this is side specific. They're blank on these sides, and then they have lights on the corners. So these shoot 90 degrees or has a 90-degree angles. These mount up on the side of your mirrors. That's why they're called the mirror pod lights with this bracket. So it's nice that it all comes provided with the kit. All right guys, so Greg's inside the car. He's looking out underneath it to find a hole in the firewall. Crawford's instructions say to actually drill through it. We're gonna see if we can find something on the Crosstrek so that we could avoid drilling through the firewall. If we can do that, it makes life a lot easier. However, the wire loom that passes through the firewall right there is a pretty tight fit, and we're trying to find out where the other side of that is. And so that's what Greg's doing right now. If we're able to find out where that leads to and if it's even doable, then we won't have to drill, and that's gonna be a huge plus. Right, Axel?
Yes.
Any luck, my friend?
There is some hope. There is some hope. I'm gonna take off this zip tie that's underneath, and I'll bring you guys down here so you can see what I'm talking about. So right up here, we have the main harness that comes through, and there's this white zip tie that I'm gonna remove, and this is where I want to pass it through. I'll have another zip tie. It'll be a black one that will cover this entire area when we're ready to close it all up.
So how'd you even get that off?
Okay, so this white retainer clip has three pressure clips on the inside of the firewall. I don't know if you'll be able to see the tip of my pointer here, but there's one right here. And then obviously if there's three around, you just press that through the firewall, and we now have access to inside. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pop a hole in this rubber grommet on the bottom, and we're gonna feed the wires and that harness through this here where my finger's going, and we will pop out on the other side right here. So I've got my pry tool up, and if you look carefully, that little bump right there I'm making, that's the inside of this wiring grommet, and that's where I'm gonna make our hole so we could feed this harness through that. Now it's gonna be a little bit tricky to get it all through. It might take a little bit longer, but I think it'll be worth it not having to drill into the firewall.
You get it. You get it.
So the wiring loom is gonna go from the battery relay cover that's gonna sit here in front of the battery. It's gonna traverse up and across this fender, and it's all gonna be hidden under the plastic shield.
Oh, that's nice.
Underneath, and then we're gonna run across this way, and of course main harness through that.
We continue to mount up the harness to the left side of the mount due to insufficient room on the right side of the windshield washer funnel. Once in place, we need to tighten the interior nut with our wrenches to tighten it down so it does not wobble. After securing the harness, we continue to lay out the adhesive sticky mounts to run along the cowl. It is nice that Crawford includes mounting gear to help keep the engine bay looking clean from the wiring, a huge plus in our books for a light pod kit. Take of the Crosstrek's electrical bypass has now begun. Sir Dr. Greg begins the operation by slicing through the firewall grommet, being careful to avoid any critical wiring within it. With a perfectly executed laceration to the grommet, Sir Dr. Greg inserts his pliers to open up the hole as large as possible. By removing the switch and wrapping the ends of the harness to a zip tie secured with electrical tape, Sir Dr. Greg has taken time-saving steps in preparing the harness to slide as effortlessly through the incision. With the grommet now cut wide open, Sir Dr. Greg works with increased pace to finish the procedure. Passing the harness through the grommet is probably the hardest part of the procedure, and Sir Dr. Greg knows it. As he slides his fingers into the grommet, he analyzes the contents inside, ensuring that nothing will be blocking the wire as he advances the harness through the incision. With gentle persuasion, his fingers continue to feel for a pathway for the wire to pass. And there it is, the tip of the zip tie. Sir Dr. Greg has done it again. Tika's electrical bypass has been successful.
Alright guys, so one problem that we're encountering with this install is the plug right here that runs through the fender, through the side to the window. The instructions say to kind of like reach for it through the fender liner. So we don't feel like going through the fender liner plastic, so we kind of just made another little bridge thing to grab at it so we could pull it across. That way we could plug it in on the other side.
Yeah, so just feed a zip tie around the back side of it, and then if you pull, you don't have to get a screwdriver or panel popper. If you do that, and just like that. We're
nice. Very good.
Enough. Oh, sweet Jesus.
Baby, baby. Alright, so we have successfully passed one wire through the fender without taking off the fender liner.
But how was that?
It was a little difficult.
Wasn't pleasant, but that's okay.
Doable, but was not.
Wasn't pleasant. That much I can say.
Definitely up to you guys if you guys want to pull some fender liner and or do it this way, but definitely not our way is not obviously recommended.
It's an option.
It's just another option, you know? But so we kind of, one thing that did help is we unbolted right here so that we have more play. And pop, we got the thing through. Much easier. All right, guys, so we have the wires passed through here. We got all the wires kind of in the general area where we want them to be. We tracked them all the way across the cowl out to the passenger side.
So we need to make these connectors, and in order to do that, we first need to fish these wires, feed it through these bottom this bottom hole here first, because the top one it gets reserved for the bolt to reattach past the fender with a little spacer. So we're gonna feed that through first, and then make sure we keep our wires nice and tight. We have our DT style connectors here. We're gonna crimp these on to each wire, right? So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna fold that wire in half, keep it nice and tidy, and then you should be able to feed that wire right into the connector. Give it a little twist, and it should end up just like that. We're gonna go ahead and crimp this on. Make sure it's nice and tight. Right, that's not gonna come off. And we'll do the same for this positive side. We're gonna fold it in half. Trying to keep that end as nice and tidy as possible. And then we'll crimp. Now there is a special crimp tool that you would need, but you could get away with a standard one just fine. Okay, now you have your connector. If you see that 2 and the 1, the black is going to go to 2 and the red is going to go to 1. So in the instructions you could either remove the orange, or what's special about these DT style connectors is you could push it through the weather housing, and if you do it right you should hear a click if I could get it through when it's sealed in. What we could do is, if you have a needle nose plier, you can reach down in there, grab the connector, the tip, pull up on it. There's that click. We'll feed it through. Get to click, but if not, reach down in there and just give it a gentle tug. There's that click. And lastly, you have the tapering lock here. So you want the thick side going towards this clipped end here. So I'm just gonna feed that down. Cool, enough. And then you just cut it forward a little bit.
Cool, so that's all nice and ready.
Yeah. Now we can mount this, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave it dangling a little bit right now, because like I said, we're gonna have to put this and the spacer, and this replaces the fender bolts that we removed earlier. So we cleaned off the old weather stripping here, and we're going to go ahead and apply this now. You want to keep the tape on there as long as you can without getting it dirty or anything. We'll peel off our 3M sticky, and with our cleaned weather stripping, we'll line it up. And I want to cover the entire strip here. Just like that. Alright, so with 3 friends, you're going to plug your connector in. You're going to have one pull back on that nice plastic, one hold the light, and we're going to get this connector fed back into the inner fender just like that. Okay. Now we're going to get our spacer and Allen key bolt. Spacer on the inside, Allen key through, and it's going to replace that one here. That stock 10 mil that held the fender on before. There you go. And then we'll figure out the adjustments here later.
After staying up for hours installing the lights, it was time to finally see how bright they were and if these mirror lights were worth the effort. Only way to find out is to do a night run.
Alrighty guys, so the pod lights are on, they're working. So we're getting the zip ties all fastened in. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, these are the lights. I don't know if it can focus really well on it, but it is pretty bright. There we go. Woo! You ready to see tonight?
Yeah, dude.
Ready to go,
see through the dead of night.
Now the moment of truth. Will these freaking lights actually help us get to our destination tonight? We'll find out.
Alright guys, so we have made it out to the mountains. It's pitch black, freaking dark. That's why I am filming right now inside the car before I take you guys out, because you guys wouldn't be able to see anything. And
so that's the stock lights. He has steering responsive headlights. That's freaking sick. And then now the Crawford lights. Woo! Woo! Oh my god. But straight 90-degree beam. So straight up illuminating the hillside right there. That's the down road vision. Yeah. I don't know, we're still playing with the lights to see if we want to adjust and or kind of angle it more to the left. Right now I think it's pretty good, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good. We angled it a little bit out more so we can see a little bit more to our side, but I mean, the visibility on this thing is gnarly.
Yeah. That 90-degree beam on this with the side shooters right here really works the way it should be working.
Oh, yeah.
So that's really good. Pretty satisfied with it so far, guys. We need to keep on trekking forward down the trail, get more footage of that to really show you guys what we actually see, and also see if it helps us get to our destination. Guys, so we have made it to our destination. It is freaking gorgeous out here on top of the mountain. We drove through the night. G on his truck doesn't have any accessory lights. I think you were saying something about how you were able to see the road because of us.
Yeah. There's a few times where I was actually able to go lights out and just be able to use your lights, to navigate the trail. And the interesting thing about this one is that there's actually a lot of tight corners that you can't see around, especially in the dark. So those ditch lights, being able to put out towards that, towards those corners that you can't see, the real round, tight ones, it helped out a lot. Definitely a good pickup, especially if you like nighttime trail running, or if you're doing something in the late afternoon and the sun starts going down early on you. So really big help.
Very helpful. Very helpful. So ultimately, I would have to say that the lights did their job. They did what they were supposed to do, which is widen our field of vision. We were able to see with the 90-degree beams. We're able to literally see like 180. Very satisfied with it. I'm pretty sure Axel would say the same thing. He's just knocked out and really tired from driving all night.
It's understandable. We've been at it for a while, so.
Yeah. So the lights work great and they're super duper bright. Highly recommend them. The install though, for me, I was pretty uncomfortable. I would say more often than not.
Yeah, obviously there's a few quirks, and we detoured a lot because we didn't want to really do any drilling through the firewall or into any of the interior paneling. So obviously coming up with a creative way to route that harness into the interior to get the switch going is probably your biggest hurdle, where you make a decision. Again, we chose not to drill because not only was the grommet a little bit too large, but also if this is going to be, one of the best off-road Crosstrek builds that we're going to do, we want it to stay as weatherproof as possible. And that means minimizing access for pretty much anything, right?
Absolutely.
Maintaining that weather seal is super important, at least in our opinion. So there are a few challenges with that, and of course you'll just need multiple hands to help you out, especially when mounting the lights, connecting them, that we showed earlier. So keep that in mind, and have a good set of hands or two, one to hold the beer and one to hold the lights.
So stay tuned and hit that like button, that subscribe button to watch more progress on this Crosstrek build with Crawford. It's gonna be a good one, and we're really looking forward to it, guys. So as always, keep on trekking.